We're recording.
Awesome. Thank you. That was like one of the things on my list to remember because the UK crew didn't want to be up in the middle of the night, understandably. Okay. So I'm going to start by telling you a little story. I'm not going to tell you my whole story because, you know, all of us, our life stories could take all day, right? But some of you know this and some of you don't, but basically I had an entirely different life in New York City prior to all of the events of 2020. And literally just the other day, I received something in my inbox I won't go into details about, but something that was synchronistically related to the last major audition I had in 2019 for a Broadway musical in which I was meant to I was auditioning to understudy three
So I
major
think right now
and whoops. And the reason I bring that up is because I
Annie, I'm sorry, muted.
all right, so is because everything comes full circle. So I started out with some big dreams around performing, but I also started out with some big dreams in my 20s about network marketing. And I do want to say, I mean, the performing ones came first, but I did grow up in a network marketing family, and I was going through recently a lot of boxes of old things, old papers that I've had in storage for a long time, and it was so poignant to unpack all of these pages of notes and lists and trainings and things that I had gone through in my 20s in this industry, many of which are still relevant. The reason I bring that up is because I just took this class literally a half hour ago about your wealth identity by a woman named Victoria Washington. And she has said this very powerful phrase, which I'm going to share with you. And it is, I am remembering what it feels like to believe. And I'm not going to go into more of my story right now because most of you have heard it and I have too much other stuff to say. But I want to invite you to give yourself that gift. And we are at the beginning of the gold rush. Well, technically speaking, gold rush activities started counting December 18th. So we all got a head start without even knowing it because the universe and God is generous. So is 7K. But we are in a moment that is so ripe for new beginnings because of what is going on with the economy, which I am not going to pretend to analyze for you because I couldn't even if I wanted to. But there are a lot of things going on. We all know that, otherwise we wouldn't be here. And also we have this contest, and 90-day runs are very potent, whether it's in this industry or this business or other things. I will be very transparent with you. I have a long history in the 12-step community. And in that community, there are often times when somebody's going through a crisis, somebody will say, I suggest you do a 90 and 90. And what that means is 90 meetings in 90 days. And I have seen for myself and so many people over the years, miracles happen when we show up a different way, when we make a commitment and we show up a different way every single day for 90 days. So that is my invitation to you. And for that to be rooted in giving yourself permission to believe again. Because, and remembering what it feels like to believe. In yourself, in your dreams, in 7K, all of the above. So I'm going to begin before I keep going with my more granular tips with a little slideshow from my 2 years. Now, this is not comprehensive because my pictures are not very organized. But let's see if, I don't know if this is going to work because I've never done this before. I'm going to try it. So let's see. Can you guys hear this song?
It's a little
Sort of.
muffled.
Okay. All right, so I think that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna turn off the music. Pretend you were hearing the music, the song called God is in This Story. And instead, I'll just have you listen to the music that comes with this slideshow. I realized that I set this up beforehand, but I just realized that it might not translate on Zoom. So we're just gonna do the slideshow. Okay, so this is some little moments. And I want you to imagine a person, so this is the person that I was when I came into 7K I was stepping into leadership in the freedom movement because that was what was in front of me and I believed in it. But I had lost a lot of other dreams and a lot of other relationships and community and da, 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 da. And I know I'm not alone in that in the past few years and in the course of life, right? And I had also lost some faith in myself to some degree. So this is what happened after Danielle and Mark invited my mom to look at this. And then I heard them mentioning it from time to time. And then I went to a meeting in person in a barn and I heard Curtis tell his story, which is also a powerful story of a lineage and going from basically rock bottom to coming back up through faith and hard work. And I saw Danielle stand at the center of the room in a blue Empire waist dress with a silver American Eagle necklace on, which I don't have on. I usually have it on. And she clicked a bunch of American Eagles in her hands. And she just stood there and breathed and let us all hear the sound of that. And I was just so taken by the energy of it. And so I stepped in and I said yes. And so here are some little pieces of what happened. And then I'm going to go into some tips for you. Okay. Wait, where's the music? There we go.
Annie, did you click the 2 buttons to make sure the music was
Oh, no, hold on. You know, the good news is that you can do this without knowing what you're doing. Thank you. Let's start over. Okay. Okay, so that's just a little, oh, stop making noise. Okay, I have to close the photo so it stops. Okay, so some of that is not 7K exactly, but it included the menu at a restaurant that has recently been dedicated to my grandmother, Edna, because she is a very big part of the inspiration in this industry for my family. And it also included some pictures of a concert that I did in August, after years of intending to do a concert like that, because that's an example of how when you create residual income for yourself, you can create what you actually want to create in your life. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears to some things I've learned or observed over the past 2 years. And I hope that you will just give yourself permission in these next 90 days to think big and dream big, because if you set a goal and you don't reach it, it's okay. That's like the main thing. I notice sometimes people are really conservative with their goals because they're afraid they're going to fail and disappoint themselves or be embarrassed or disappoint somebody else. And that's not how goals work. So, and the good news is you're going to become somebody different in these 90 days, regardless of what happens with your actual goals. Okay, so now people are going to surprise you in both negative and positive ways. That's just a general thing to remember for this business. You must be anchored to your why. And I have noticed that for many people, their why is, many people have a why that's about, you know, money and numbers, but almost everybody has a why that is also about their lineage, whether that be the next generation or the generations behind them. And I once saw Nicole Kidman, sorry, I know Hollywood is whatever, but this moment really stuck with me. It was when she won an Oscar and she stood up there and she was all very emotional and she said, "I've just always wanted to make my mom proud." She is like one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. And that is really what it came down to for her. And I've noticed that that's true of most people, whether it's about making your mom or dad proud or doing something for your children or setting them free or something like that. So that's something to anchor into for yourself. And it's also something to look for on your team and with your conversations with people who are looking at joining your team. Okay. Be you, don't try to be anybody else. As you can tell from looking at me, I'm not like anybody else on the team, and that works, okay? You can use other people's tools and systems and structures, and I didn't mention Mark in the barn story, even though he was there and his presentation meant a lot to me, but Mark's mentorship mostly for me has more been about the structures and the systems that I've been able to plug into and find freedom in. So I highly recommend that you do the same. There is no right way for everybody. There's no one right way. If you're getting started, I do recommend you pick something and stick with it for a while. Or even if you're not getting started, like this 90-day run is a great time to restart. And most people could stand to simplify and pick one or two things they're doing rather than trying 5 things. And at the beginning, what I did is I followed the system that Mark and Danielle had created and taught me, which was to invite people to see the information and get a third party on. And that was it. And that's historically, I've never considered myself to be a good salesperson. And this is how I became a quote unquote good salesperson. Okay, and so a system and a structure will set you free and give you momentum, focus, and clarity. And that applies to how you share this with other people, and it also applies to how you plan your time and how you track your activities. I know many people, myself included, are resistant to tracking, but God is in the details. And there is power in clarity. So, also getting back to people will surprise you in both positive and negative ways. That means you as much as possible, get insurance on your team. So if your rank requires 2 people on each side, put 4 people on each side because people will surprise you. And it's better to not be having to stress out about that. Okay. Also, enrolling others in your dreams and your why is really important. And this I would say has been one of the learning curves for me. I have a tendency, I didn't play team sports. I mean, I barely played sports, but all the sports that I did play were like solo, sort of like tennis and cross country and stuff like that. The idea of having other people sort of rooting for me and supporting me and counting on me is a little uncomfortable for me, which is one of the reasons why this business is a great stretch and great opportunity for me. Maybe somebody here can relate to this. So, for example, I recently shared some things about my goals for the Gold Rush with some people on my team, and somebody said, that was a little vague. Why don't you actually tell us what you actually want? And I said, well, because most people on my team usually have goals that are a little, that are a little different. And I don't, whatever. I had this whole story about how nobody was going to want to root for me and my goal because whatever, because I had a story about it. And now I get to be more transparent and say what it is, the specifics. Because people naturally want to help each other win. So, and that is something that you can do with your team. It's also, I mean, I happen to know somebody on the team that I will not name in case she wants to be private about it, but I happen to know somebody who had a specific goal in a specific timeline, and a family member of hers decided to join during that timeline to help her reach that goal. So it's actually very vulnerable to share what our dreams and our goals are with people and ask them to be part of it, but it's an amazing gift for them. And it's an amazing gift for us too, obviously. Of course, don't do it with somebody who's not safe. If you have some dream stealers in your life, then practice containment of your dreams with them. But with people who are in your corner, or as my friend Amy Loftus, who's also a 7K member, says, does that person have a dream for you? If you know that person has a dream for you, then you can share your dreams with them and ask them to support you. Okay. And on that note, there is not a single person who can succeed in this business by themselves. It is literally impossible. So if you have challenges with communication or relationships or whatever, welcome to your university. Which life is anyway, right? But something that I've noticed in myself and lots of other people well before 7K is when people have money problems, it's actually usually a people problem. It's a relationship problem. That's something we could talk about all night. So I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, this is where I'm going to get quite blunt in case I already haven't, which I have. But so get over yourself, get over your ego, get over your need to know, to look good, or to be in control. Because none of those things are going to be useful here. I mean, maybe being in control with your tracking and you're keeping track of your calendar and da-da-da-da-da. But even then, part of the reason why I love those things is because there's so much divine flow and miracles that happen when you show up for structure and the details. Then God can take care of the rest. We pray and move our feet. When you step, and I am going to talk about God a lot because it's just part of how I roll. And it's part of my experience of life. So adapt it if you need to. But my experience has always been, especially when it comes to money, I have had a history sometimes of like freezing around my actions and whatever when it comes to money. That's in other times in my life, I mean. And my experience over and over and over again, including prior to 7K, is I take one step forward, God takes 3 steps towards me. And along those lines, that means nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I know that's a cliche, but it's true. So that's why I'm suggesting, especially if you're a person, and there are some people that I happen to know this, but I'm not going to name anybody. But if you're a person who kind of hedges your bets and plays small with your goals and what you're going to aim for because of whatever reasons, why not just take this first quarter of 2024 and say, I'm going to do it differently this time. I'm just going to see what happens if I set a bigger goal than I ever have before, knowing that number 1, I'm going to love myself no matter what happens. Number 2, God is going to love me no matter what happens. And number 3, so is my team. And number 4, Most importantly, I am going to grow as a human being and as a 7K leader, and I'm going to be of service as I show up for that goal. Because it really truly is inevitable if you show up. On that note, I suggest taking your business and yourself seriously. And this has so many different layers to it. One of them is connects to asking for help. So if you need help with something in your business and the first person you contact is not available, ask somebody else until you get what you need. This is your business. Get out of the victim mode. It's your business. Take responsibility. You are not bothering somebody. If you're bothering somebody, they can deal with it. We're all grown-ups, right? Like I had this support person in one of my 12-step programs back in the day who was like an older, not older, he wasn't old, but he was quite a bit older than me at the time. And he was a very successful lawyer. And I was very new in this situation and I really needed a lot of help. So I called him a lot and I said, I hope I'm not bothering you. And he said, don't worry, I take responsibility for myself. If you're calling me too much, I will just decrease how often I answer you. And I was like, okay. So, and I don't take that personally because we get to all have our own boundaries. So just get your needs met because you are running a business, number one. And number two, you're being of service by running this business. You have no idea whose dreams you might be reviving by contacting them, whose family you might be helping by helping them get some gold and silver in their hands for the first time in their lives because they always thought they couldn't afford it or it wasn't for people like them. Or maybe you might be connecting with somebody whose great-grandfather collected coins and you're helping them reconnect with their roots in a powerful way. You just don't know how you're being of service. So therefore, get over yourself with thinking you're bothering people. Okay. And getting back to the getting over yourself, the need to know is like the needing to be an expert and have all the answers. You don't need to. As Karen Meyer says, I think this is one of the best lines I've ever heard about this business. In most other businesses and jobs, we get paid to know everything or at least pretend we do. And in this business, we get paid to know nothing. That means being curious, asking questions, and using your third party. The more you know, the more you look like you know everything, the more people will think, oh, I have to become that person and there's no way I can do this. And I will be the first to admit that I think I've started to do that in the second year of my business. So I got to zip my lip more, right? Okay. And then of course, taking your business and yourself seriously also has to do with how you handle your time, how you handle your relationships in 7K, how you handle it with people's communication with you. So it is super common for somebody to like say they're going to come to an event and not come, or show up late, or show up riding in their car, or whatever, right? First off, if you're going to have a third party come and listen to information about this, ask your guests to be in a place where they can be on camera, if possible, because it feels kind of crummy to sit and like share with a room full of black squares. That's just a personal preference, but obviously do what you got to do. But so in terms of taking it seriously and handling it professionally, the truth is that people who are you're inviting, unless you've already presented it as a business thing to them, or you're like, I don't know, doing a social media thing where you're specifically promoting it in a professional businessy way. If it's like your personal friend or family member, to them, you are asking them to do you a favor maybe, or you're asking them to do something in their off time from their job. I'm not saying all of us are necessarily making a living at this, but I'm saying this is your job or your business, right? So it's understandable that they're not going to take the appointment as seriously as you are. So we don't have to be mean about it, But you can circle back and say, and I learned this from Danielle, you can say something like, hey, I noticed that you weren't able to, come to such and such. That's totally fine. I know life happens, but I really think that it's worth your time to take a serious look at this. Or I really think it's worth your time to set aside half an hour to look at this. When can we reschedule? So you take it seriously. That models for them that it's not just casual for them to not take it seriously. And on that note, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if you're noticing that people are not showing up for you, I lovingly suggest that you take a little inventory of how you show up in your relationships. Are you dependable? Are you a person of your word? Do you keep your commitments? And if not, maybe tweak that because it affects how other people show up for you. Okay. Avoid victim mentality like the plague. We all could probably hear this 10 times a day, myself included. Also, this is not a race, and we all know comparison is the thief of joy. So do not be comparing yourself to other people unless that inspires you in some way. However, speed also does create momentum. And massive action and speed gets us into the quantum field in a particular way that I can't explain because I'm not a scientist like that, but it does. I've seen it over and over and over again. And it also increases our emotional resilience. Speed does. So, and massive action does. So this is something that I learned as an actor. If I was doing more auditions more frequently, every single audition didn't like glom onto my soul as much as it did if I was doing like one every 6 months, right? So instead it just became like working out. I mean, that's not entirely truthful. It's a little more emotionally invested than that, but it became more of a routine, and I was able to let go of the outcome of each particular audition more and more and more and more. And I was able to enjoy the process more and the craft more and the improvement and the growth and which is, so the same is true here. We get less attached to the outcome of every single conversation if we're just having more conversations. Obviously, you gotta pace yourself for your own energy and your health and making sure you're not burning out and, all that, especially on Zooms. I'm like last Wednesday, I think I did like 5 or 6 Zooms, and by the end of the day, I was really not very happy. So I know for me, that's probably my max. For you, it might not be. But with having said, definitely pace yourself and know what your limits are, or basically you find your limits by overdoing it, and that's fine. And you'll bounce back, right? Okay. So, but it does make it just makes it easier. And of course, your skills get better and better and better as the more that you're doing this. The path of the network marketer is the path of the Jedi, or the Zen master, or the Christian mystic, or the whatever. It is a spiritual practice. That's my firm belief. And that helps me to stay engaged with it and stay curious about the process and less in victim. Now, I'm not going to say Danielle can tell you I'm not a saint at this. I'll be like, what is happening? And right? We all have our moments, but as a larger way of looking at it, it really is. It just is. It's a spiritual practice. And the more that we can bob and weave, the better. And just kind of keep our center and know that most things that happen actually have nothing to do with us, which I realize is a complete contradiction to having said, you know, how we do one thing and how we do everything. And if you're not being of integrity, it might be affecting your relationships, but obviously life is a contradiction. So it is what it is. Okay. So if you are a person who already has had, a track record of sticking with one or two methods for a stretch of time. And when I say a stretch of time, I mean at least 3 months, maybe more like 6. Then it might be time to diversify your approach. And just like we diversify our approach with precious metals, it's a great idea to diversify your approach with your business. So that's in terms of number one, your markets, your networks. Like, are you talking to all the same types of people? And how's that working for you? Maybe you want to start talking to some other types of people that might be a different market for you. And also how you're sharing it. So I have mostly shared real time on Zoom, either one-on-one or in groups, but I have started to do videos occasionally, partially just honestly for efficiency reasons. If you're going to do a video, you all know you got to be clear in the agreement and they have to be accountable and blah, blah, blah. That's other trainings. Lots of people have done trainings on that. But basically, if you've been doing the same thing pretty much nonstop for a stretch of time, then yes, it's a good idea to diversify. I barely did any social media of my own. Actually, I've done almost very little social media of my own for the first year. And then the second year was some, but very little. As some of you know, I partner with somebody who's part of my upline and we use her social media a fair amount. Now I'm going to be using some of my own more because I just think it'll be fun. And also because I want people to know what I'm doing and it's a good market. So that's what I'm going to do. The other reason why I think it's a good idea to diversify your markets and your approaches, but especially your markets, is for me anyway, there's a very distinct emotional and energetic difference between talking to my personal friends and family and colleagues and sharing on social media and having a little bit more of a remove. So for me, I like to have a little bit of both because the truth is talking to my personal friends about this is still a little uncomfortable. It's a little easier to be practicing, you know, attraction marketing or whatever on social media. So that's also, however, don't be a chicken and only do that because it doesn't work. I mean, well, I could be wrong. Maybe it has worked for somebody. I don't know anybody it's worked for to just do social media. Whatever you're doing, obviously you have to be developing relationships and sincerity and credibility and trust and all of those things. So that's about diversifying your markets. Okay. This is a little tip for you about people surprising you. People are going to surprise you. When I say people are going to surprise you, what I mean is when you do your list of names, don't even try to predict who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. That is totally magical surprise land, in my experience. In terms of when people join your team, that's the part where I have noticed how it starts is often how it continues. So pay close attention to people's behavior and verbiage at the beginning. I'm not saying that they can't change, because they do sometimes change. And that's like one of the best parts of this is watching somebody grow and change and transform. And don't be surprised if you notice something about let's say the limitations of how somebody's viewing this and how they proceed to carry it out. That's why we get insurance. And it doesn't mean you can't support them. You can still support them. Insurance meaning extra people on your team. Okay. On that note, please do not ever put anybody on a pedestal. That's in 7K in general, but it's also especially in your life with people on your list. You are the person who holds an asset here. They might be a celebrity, they might be a billionaire, they might be I don't know, an expert, they might be a network marketing rock star, whatever. You're still holding the asset. So treat yourself accordingly and do not put them on a pedestal, number one. And number two, I mean, obviously be respectful, but don't get desperate with somebody because you think they have more power than you do. Because you just don't know what their circumstances are, whatever. Three-way calls are everything. I've done a lot of trainings on them. And if you're not using them, then please, I beg of you to use them. And edification in both directions is great. So this is something that I learned by watching Mark and Danielle when we do three-way calls. So I edify them, meaning when I introduce them, I say something positive about them that I think will help the person who they're meeting to trust them or to relate to them. I also usually say something positive about the person that I'm introducing them to, so that person feels special. But I usually say more impressive things about my third party, because in this case, I am actually setting up a little bit of a power differential on purpose. Okay, and then so that's if I'm the inviter and Mark and Danielle are the third party and like my friend Molly is the guest. If I'm the third party and somebody on my team brings a guest in, my job is always to edify the person on my team. So Mark and Danielle always do that. So I've practiced always doing that. Meaning, you know, this person's an amazing leader. Or if that's not true, say something else that's positive about them, right? Okay. So then you're helping the person who's coming to look at this feel confident that they're making a good choice if they decide to join us. Okay, I know that you all have heard probably the focus on IPAs, income producing actions. That's super crucial. I'm noticing the time, it's 8:42. I'll wrap up soon. Network marketing is a personal growth experience in a business. However, in my opinion, if you focus just on the personal growth, in theory, number one, you don't actually experience the personal growth. I hope you're catching what I'm saying. And number two, you're not going to make the money. So most of the growth comes from the doing, not the talking about the doing or the practicing the doing, even though practicing is important too. But most of it comes from the doing. Okay. Oh, just a little tip. Influencer model is not as good as it looks. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you really know what you're doing. Okay. I'm just going to look here at what else I have, which is like so many things, but I'm not going to get into all of them. Okay. If you have somebody on your team who has a lot of network marketing baggage, or you yourself do, clear that out. Do not let it leak in front of a guest, ever. That means don't poo-poo the business model in front of a guest. If somebody had done that at the barn when I came, I might have thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Instead of what I did think, which was I saw the compensation plan on the screen after I heard the story, and I was like, I know what this is. I can do this. Give people the opportunity to have an open mind and have a yes. Okay, and that does lead me to one of the points that I do feel is super crucial to say, and that is there is an onstage and there's an offstage. There onstage and a backstage. So things that you might say to a team member or an upline or a downline or crossline, whatever, things that you would say to another member that could confuse or negatively influence somebody seeing this for the first time, please do not say it on a Zoom or in front of a guest. I know I've said this a million times because I feel so passionately about it. We are here to be of service and create as clean of an experience as possible for new people. Okay, so now I am going to just say one more thing and then get into talking about the gold rush very briefly, and then we'll close. Okay, so wait, where was it? Sorry. Oh, sometimes you may feel like a therapist or a mediator or a coach or whatever, and you are probably all of those things as a leader in this business. And sometimes when you're sharing, and that's okay. Obviously have healthy boundaries, but it's an amazing opportunity to get versatile in how you communicate with people. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with listening to them and matching where they're coming from. Okay, also, lastly, before I get into the gold rush thing, this doesn't have to be your whole life. I mean, I've run pretty hard for the first 2 years, and I will continue to run hard for a while, but I paused to do that concert. I have every intention of, bringing more of my creative time into my life. So but anything that you do spend 90 days doing in a committed, intentional way is going to, again, like I said, change who you are. It's going to change your business. It's going to change your team. And therefore, whatever you do after that is going to be the better for it. So why not use this business to enrich who you are? Because if we need anything on the planet right now, it is people who have integrity and character and are good leaders. So this is a great opportunity to deepen into that. I know you all are already good leaders. I'm just giving you the opportunity to go further with it. Okay, so now we're going to just do a little talking about the gold rush, because I want to give you a reminder of this amazing opportunity and make sure you have a plan in place to lean into it. Okay, so the call to action is to commit to a 90-day, very full-on run, whatever that means for you. And whatever it means for you in this moment, I'm going to suggest that you up the ante at least enough that it's uncomfortable for you. And our CEO, Jason, said he likes to set goals that excite him and inspire him. And he also said, and I'm okay to fail. It's not about acing it. It's about moving as much as we can towards the thing and letting that work in us, just like we allow God to work in us, right? Okay, so I'm going to bring up, and now you get to see how many ridiculous number of tabs I have open on my browser, but here we go. So here is our gold rush. So we have until, again, we started the gold rush December 18th. It runs through April 7th for the team prizes, and then it runs through April 30th for your individual prizes. We have until Saturday to register our teams. If you don't know how to register your team, get the code. Wait, is it here? I thought it was here, sorry. If somebody has it and can put it in the chat, that's great. But if not, the code is right in it's in the Facebook group, our Freedom Family Facebook group. Or you can get it from your sponsor. But you register your team on a website, and you put the team captain and the number of the people on it. The maximum is 5 members on a team. I always suggest having at least, I shouldn't say at least, it's maximum 5 members. I suggest having 5 because you never know if somebody's going to drop out. And also it's just more fun. But you can register a team with 3. You can only have 1 bronze or above on a team, and you can only participate on 1 team. Now the prizes, I'm not going to go into every single detail of the prizes because I'm not, but they are really bananas this time, this year. The prizes are incredible. So for the top 5 individuals, the prizes are a 2024 Ford Mustang with a 7K wrap on it. And for the next 4 levels of rankings for top individuals, it's actual cold hard cash in your hands. Well, I don't know if it's like a cash, it might be a check, but you know what I'm saying. It's money. We all love money, hopefully. And then we have teams. There are the top 3 teams are getting gold or the framed uncut Holdman notes, which are gorgeous. Same with the top 5 new members who aren't part of a team. And then also the top 5 teams are eligible for to go to a VIP meet and greet with the founders and the executive team. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm just telling you my experience, having earned FaceTime and mentorship with the founders and executive team multiple times in contests, I will tell you that is worth the entire thing. If all you were doing for 90 days is saying to yourself, I am putting all that I can into this right now so that I have the opportunity to talk with these brilliant businessmen and humanitarians, then that is a great reason to run, in my opinion. Okay, and the rank, I'm not going to go into all the details of the rules. That's in your dashboard. Okay, so you need to register your teams by Saturday. And again, it's an amazing time to stretch and grow. And we all know that life is more fun when we stretch and grow. You can use this Gold Rush tracker if you want, or some other tracker. And now I'm going to finish my call to action. So the call to action is number 1, commit to a 90-day run that is a stretch for you. That means a stretch in terms of your goal and a stretch in terms of how you pursue your goal. Of course, join or lead a team. Have a way to track your activities and use your calendar to put 7K time in your calendar. And if you're not clear on your why, dig into it again. And a little tip here, if you are not sure about your why, like I said before, for most people, an additional layer for their why is something that's connected to somebody they love. And even if it's somebody who's already passed and you want to dedicate this 90-day run to somebody that you love who's gone, do that. Also, this is optional, but it might be helpful it's all optional, obviously, but it might be helpful for how you pursue your goal. Subtract something from your life, subtract a habit from your life that is not serving you for these 90 days. And add something nourishing to your life that will help reward you. So whether that be something daily or weekly, you know what the things are that waste your time and suck your energy. And you also know what the things are that are like healthy nourishment. Okay. I think that, and update your list if you are not updated on your list. 25 is the minimum. It's always a grand idea to have a list of at least 100 names because it makes you feel abundant, which we are abundant. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope that this has been helpful. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to help with questions. And if not, there we have it. And give yourself space to believe again. Sorry.
That was absolutely amazing. I know we have hands up, but I just want to say thank you. That was so good. I have so many notes. I mean, I can't even begin to, everything you covered was so good. And thank you for reminding us to remember what it is and what it feels like to believe. You absolutely hit my heart tonight. So I just want to thank you. And I love everything you said and the call to action. And I just want to remind everybody, register for Vegas. Tonight is the last night to get.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. My pleasure. Thank you. Karen?
And I have to say, I have no question the notes, I have so many notes. It's amazing. I just want to edify this woman in ways that you cannot possibly know. I've known Annie for 12 years. We've been through, she's talked about it. We've been through lots of stuff together, amazing stuff together. And the growth that I have seen in you as a successful businesswoman, as a leader, tonight, this was just so spot on and so inspirational. And I'm in awe. I don't have you on a pedestal, but I'm in awe. So, so
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Karen is always respectful not to share this story for me, but I will share it that some of you know it, but when I was basically homeless in New York, I lived on Karen's couch for like weeks at a time, more than once. So when I talk about like, you know, going to the bottom, that's real talk. I'm also going to just put the lyrics to God is in the story in the chat so you all have it, which was supposed to be for the you know, the slideshow. Okay. Well, I'm trying, but I don't know if it's going to work. I'll just put the link in. Everybody's overwhelmed. Yeah, Laura, hey.
I just love it. I love what you said about the speed gets you to the quantum, and like the repetitive and the fast and the just continuous was so amazing for us this year. Like I've never really felt that before, like in my job or my business or anything, but this year was fun because it was like, just say it, do it, say it, do it, say it, do it. And like you said, it like relieves the pressure off finding the one, because you're just having all of these amazing conversations, like really fast and on purpose, and it feels so good. It just keeps you going. So I love that you said that. It was, I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Laura. I love that. And it's really true. And just by the way, I mean, I've been a little like, oh, what am I doing with my business? Blah, blah, blah. I have all these other things I want to do. And if you need extra spiritual sustenance for this call to action, do what I did over the weekend, which was I wrote a long come to Jesus letter to God. And then I had a conversation with God, and I received very clear guidance to go into massive action. And that feels like, and let go of trying to control it. Right. So that's why I'm inviting you to do I'm not inviting you to do something I'm not doing. Yeah. Caleb, do you have something you want to say?
Yes, first of all, it was nice to meet you, and that was that was a great presentation you did this whole time. And I have been out of the 7K loop for a while now, and I never really had an interest in rejoining it because network marketing for me is it's just too much of an uphill climb, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like I feel like I get a no every time.
Yes.
And I don't want to be pushy. And I don't want to be one of those people who just talk and talk and then it's all for nothing.
Thank you for sharing that, Caleb. And please, we have to go in a minute or two here, but please just
That's all I have. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Just please put a 1 in the chat if you relate to this. Anybody? I know Caleb's not the only person who sometimes feels discouraged. So thank you for sharing, Caleb. And I'm not going to go into like an in-depth coaching right now because of the time, but what I want to share with you is it's not for nothing, because you've planted the seeds and that is your job. And we have a team and so much training and so much support. And so reach out to your sponsor or whoever else you have on your support team. If your sponsor is not available, reach out to somebody else, because we have so much to help tweak how you're doing it, or help you plant more seeds with more people. And also, just so you know, all of us get a lot of no's. if people saw the number of people on my list that are like, that don't respond, they would be like, oh. It really is a numbers game to some degree. So thank you so much for being here, Caleb, and I hope that that you stay in the saddle. Ash and Monica.
Yes, Monica had a quick question for you.
So I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more when you say that money problems are really people problems or relationship problems. Is that like communication, or is it like an energetic thing, or?
Yes and yes.
Mhm.
So I just have noticed for myself and many others that I've known over the years who have had money problems. And just to be clear, like, I'm not going to pretend that I have it totally licked, but 7K has made a huge difference in my financial life.
Yeah.
Partially the business and also partially just the culture of it. Like, if you stick around long enough, you're just going to naturally get better with money.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, what I've observed is most people who don't earn enough money have a tendency to isolate and have a tendency to not ask for help or have trouble receiving help, and or have control issues. And I'm talking about myself just as much as anybody else. And or have trouble keeping their word and being a person of integrity. So all those things contribute to under earning and debt. And the communication piece, yes. I mean, communication is, of course, everything in this business and in relationships. I mean, I happen to know the two of you already have a lot of that, like, ready to go. I'm not particularly worried about you, but
Yeah.
that's the answer to your question.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Annie,
Yes.
would love, if you're okay with it, I actually queued up the song.
Hey, let's listen
Maybe
to
we
the
can end
song.
with that. All
I
right.
love that. Thank you.
Do you have any last words before I play the song?
Why not you? Why not now?
That was anticlimactic. Sorry. Here we go. I got it. Oh, here we go. I'm doing the acoustic version.
Oh, yay.
Oops, wait. You know what? Again, I will.
You gotta do the two dots or the two.
I did, but I always second
Oh.
myself. All right, here we go.
Okay.
There's torn up pages in this book, words that tell me I'm no good, chapters that define me for so long. But the hands of grace and endless love dusted off and picked me up, told my heart that hope is never gone. God is in this story. God is in the details, even in the broken parts. He holds my heart, he never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus. Always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. So if the storm you're walking through feels like it's too much and you wonder if he even cares at all, hold on tight to what you know. He promised he won't let you go. Your song of healing's written in his scars. God is in this story. God is in the details, even in the broken parts. He holds my heart, he never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus. Always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. He holds my heart, he never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus. Always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. Always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. God is in my story.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Annie. Why don't we all unmute and give Annie all of our love? Thank you so much, Annie. This was absolutely incredible. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Many blessings.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night.
Really good. Thank you.
Really, really.
Let's go change some lives.
Got my shirt on.
There you
today.
go.
Yeah.
All thankful.